Hello, geopolitics enthusiasts. Welcome back to Edusplorer. If you are just coming across our channel, congratulations to you as you're watching another edition of news across the continent of Africa, exclusively on Edusplorer. Sit tight as I give you the latest news from South Africa, Ghana, Nigeria, Lesotho, and many more African countries. Hit the like button and subscribe to this channel and toggle on the notification bell so you don't miss out on any of our informative content. Starting with South Africa, according to BBC, South Africa rejects megaphone diplomacy with US. The South African government has said it will not take part in counterproductive megaphone diplomacy following a fresh social media post by US President Donald Trump repeating his claim that Pretoria was confiscating land. Trump extended his invitation to relocate those seeking to flee South Africa for reasons of safety to all farmers and offer them citizenship. South Africa has previously said that Trump has misunderstood the country's new Land Expropriation Act, but it has already led to the US president freezing financial aid to the country. Responding to the latest statement, the government said that South Africa was still committed to building a mutually beneficial trade, political, and diplomatic relationship with the Trump administration. Still on BBC, Nigerian senator suspended after making sexual harassment claims. Nigerian lawmakers have suspended the senator for 6 months after she submitted a petition alleging she had been sexually harassed by the Senate president. Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan first made the accusation against one of the country's top politicians, Godswill Akpabio, in an interview last week Friday. After dismissing a petition on procedural grounds, the Ethics Committee recommended Uduaghan's suspension, saying she had brought ridicule to the upper chamber of the National Assembly. Some senators argued that her suspension to be cut to 3 months, but the majority voted to stick with the 6-month suspension recommended by the Ethics Committee. Women's rights activist Adiza Ado told the BBC that Senator Uduaghan's suspension was a sad day for Nigerian women. Uduaghan afterwards described her suspension as an injustice that will never be sustained. She vowed to continue her pursuit for justice over her treatment. The accusations have dominated discussions across Nigeria since she first made them nearly a week ago. On Aljazeera, Zambia's government's neglect exposing more children to lead poison, HRW says. The failure of Zambia's government to intervene against blatant violations of environmental laws is worsening the exposure of a high number of children to severe health risks, mostly lead poison, at a shuttered mining site in the country's central region, once a new report. The Human Rights Watch report published on Wednesday said Zambia is allowing South African, Chinese, and domestic mining companies to continue to operate in lead-contaminated town of Kabwe, where residents are already reeling from decades of toxic lead exposure. Kabwe, about 150 kilometers, 95 miles north of capital Lusaka, is one of the world's most populated places after decades of lead and zinc mining. Companies are profiting in Kabwe from mining, removing and processing lead waste at the expense of children's health. HRW's Children's Rights Director Julian Kippenbach said, adding that more than 95% of children in the area had elevated blood lead levels. Once again in South Africa, Trump says US ending all federal funding to South Africa. According to Africa News, the United States State Department has ordered an immediate end to all federal funding to South Africa. This follows an executive order signed last month by the US President Donald Trump, who has repeated his false claim that the South African government is confiscating land owned by the white farmers. Trump, writing on his Truth social media post, also reiterated his offer of sanctuary to farmers fleeing the country because they fear for their safety with a rapid pathway to citizenship. The announcement comes a week after a lobby group of minority white Afrikaners met with the president at the White House. Their visit was criticized by South African President Cyril Ramaphosa, who accused them of undermining the country's sovereignty. Afrikaners are the descendants of the Dutch colonizers who implemented the apartheid regime in the 1940s, which ended with the country's first democratic election in 1994. Meanwhile, France begins military base handover to Senegal. According to Reuters, France handed over 2 military facilities to Senegal on Friday, the French embassy said, the first formal step in ending French military presence in the West African country as the region shifts away from the former colonizer. France set up a joint commission with Senegal last month to organize the restitution of military bases and the withdrawal of 350 troops by the end of 2025. Senegal's neighbors, Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger, have all already pushed out French troops and turned to Russia for help fighting jihadist insurgencies on their territory. France also began its military withdrawal from Chad in December after the government there, an important Western ally in the fight against Islamic militants in the region, abruptly ended its defense cooperation pact with France. In other news on CNN, Lesotho insulted after Trump says nobody has ever heard of the country. Lesotho's foreign minister said on Wednesday he was shocked and insulted by US President Donald Trump, saying nobody has ever heard of the African country and invited him to come visit. Trump mentioned Lesotho in his address to the US Congress on Tuesday evening while listing some of the foreign spending he had caught as appalling waste. $8 million to promote LGBTQI+ in the African nation of Lesotho, which nobody has ever heard of, Trump said, drawing laughs in the Congress. Lesotho's foreign minister, Legion Mpojwan, said the remark was quite insulting. In his words, "I'm really shocked that my country can be referred to like that by the head of state," he told Reuters. Lesotho is a mountainous nation of about 2 million people that is encircled by South Africa and has the highest average altitude of any country and is sometimes called the kingdom in the sky. Once again on Reuters, Ghana lawmakers will introduce anti-LGBTQ legislation. Ghanaian lawmakers have introduced a bill that would become one of Africa's most restrictive pieces of anti-LGBTQ legislation. The response was told Reuters after an earlier attempt to enact it fell short because of legal challenges. Same-sex sexual acts are currently punishable by up to 3 years in prison in Ghana. The bill would increase the maximum penalty to 5 years and also improve jail time for the willful promotion, sponsorship, or support of LGBTQ+ activities. Ghana's parliament approved the bill in February 2024, but then President Nana Akufo-Addo did not sign it before his term ended, and John Dramani Mahama took office in January. Any bill passed by the parliament must go to the president to be signed into law. Ruling party lawmakers Samuel Nati George and Emmanuel Kwasi Begzera, and opposition lawmaker John Intim Fojo told Reuters the same bill had been introduced in parliament on February 25, sponsored by 10 lawmakers in total. The bill intensifies a crackdown on the rights of LGBTQ people and those accused of promotion of sexual and gender minority rights. Lastly, on African news, Ukraine Zelenskyy to visit South Africa in April for talks. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelenskyy is to visit South Africa next month for talks with the country's leader, Cyril Ramaphosa. A spokesperson for the South African presidency says it would be a continuation of Ramaphosa's ongoing engagement with both Kyiv and Moscow to find a path to peace. South Africa has adopted a neutral position on Russia's war in Ukraine and has attempted to act as a mediator between the sides, although with limited success. Ramaphosa led an African peace mission to Russia and Ukraine in 2023 and met with both Zelenskyy and Russian President Vladimir Putin. The South African president has held separate calls with both leaders since then. Pretoria has close ties with Russia, with both countries belonging to the BRICS group of emerging economies that is trying to challenge Western-dominated economic order. In addition, South Africa has refused to condemn Putin's decision to invade Ukraine 3 years ago. Zelensky's visit to the country comes at a critical juncture in the war following his explosive meeting with US President Donald Trump at the White House last week. Thank you for joining us today again on Edusplorer. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell to stay updated on our future episodes. I am Farouk. Bye-bye.